It's March 1st at 2 o'clock and the dogs and I are walking down the KMP Trail south of Petworth Road. It's a beautiful afternoon, windy, but about 6 degrees, 7 degrees, and we're heading south. And I just noticed on flight radar that that plane that I often follow is at the terminal in Pearson International Airport in Toronto. So it'll probably be taking off shortly. And I thought it might be interesting just to follow its progress as it heads over this way on its way to Dubai. I assume it's going to be doing that before long, and just thought I'd take a few images off the phone here as it makes its way across out of Toronto and over here and off over the Atlantic.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the captain speaking. Please ready yourself for takeoff and fasten your seatbelts. Thank you.
So it's 2:15 and UAE 242 is just circling over the south side of Toronto as shown in these images and is starting to head this way. I'm never sure if it's going to go right over me or south of me by a long shot or north of me by a long shot. So it'll be a bit of a gamble here whether we actually get to see it. Never mind be able to take some decent video of it. So we'll see. I'm gambling. Quite often it flies north of here, but the odd time it goes south or right over here. So it's just going to be a gamble. Hopefully we'll get it so I can make this video, because if it goes north or south of us by a long shot, then there's not much sense in me making this video probably. So you better come over here, UAE 242. I've got some videos to make here.
Passing 10,000 feet, which means you're free to turn your large electronic devices. Fasten seatbelt signs on, please. Remain seated. Seatbelts fastened.
At 2:19, the plane broke the 400 knot speed level for the first time on its flight to Dubai, and it's heading over Lake Ontario east towards Oshawa. At 2:21, the plane just broke the 15,000 foot height level and was traveling at 420 knots. So far, the plane's still well out over Lake Ontario, south of Oshawa. So if I'm going to see it, it's going to have to start making a left turn northwards pretty soon. Otherwise, it's probably going to take a more southerly route along the Lake Ontario shoreline, as it sometimes does. Okay, at 2:23, the plane is making a left turn, heading northeastward now a little more. At 2:25 p.m., I'm making a guesstimate that the plane will fly over us. Based on its current track, an extrapolation of its current track, to me it looks like it's going to be flying roughly over this area, unless he makes some strong diverging changes, which he could do. And here's what the trail walk looks like as we go along, following UAE 242 out of Toronto on its way to Dubai. I'm just heading to this open area up ahead of us so I can get a good look to the south. And I'll just hang around there now because it's not going to take long for that plane to get over here. Probably be a matter of 5 or 10 minutes at the most. So I think I'm just going to position myself in an open area here and hope we can get a glance of it coming by. At plane just surpassed 500 knots and 25,000 feet of altitude. At 2:30, I'm starting to wonder again whether the plane is going to come right over here. It's almost hanging a little to the south so far, but that could still change. It's just entered the west side of Prince Edward County. At 2:32, just crossing over Napanee at 530 knots and 28,000 feet. There she is, folks. UAE 242 heading to Dubai. Well, that was a fun little experiment, following the old plane all the way from its takeoff to when it flies right over me. It's just kind of interesting to see how fast they move and the ground they cover in a short period. And as I've mentioned, that one flies over me quite often because I'm out walking on these trails, usually mid-afternoon, and that's when it flies over. And today was pretty good. Even though it looked like it was right over me, it wasn't really right over me. It was a fair ways south of me on a straight line distance. But because it's so high, it appears like it's right over me. When it does go right over you, you know it more because it's even louder. You probably couldn't hear a thing there with all the wind blowing on the microphone here, but just a fun little exercise. For the second time this week, I've been out walking these trails and had a big dynamite explosion go off just south of me here. I believe it would be at the quarries just west of Harrowsmith. And last week I was south of here and it sounded like it was coming probably, oh no, that one sounded like it was coming from the Unity Road quarries. So either case, they're big explosions and they scare the heck out of you when you're fairly close to them. I'm stressed enough. I don't need to have dynamite going off beside me. I come out here for peace and relaxation. And what do I get? Airplanes flying over my head and dynamite going off. Jeez. The nerve of these people. Ruining my afternoon. At 2:50, the A380 is just passing south of Montreal. So at 3:19, an hour and 7 minutes after takeoff, UAE 242 is just passing over St. Andrews, New Brunswick. heading northeast along the coast of the Bay of Fundy. And I've probably walked 6 kilometers. So at 3:35, that plane is just flying south of Truro, Nova Scotia now. Soon to be heading out over the Atlantic. It's got something like 10 and a half hours more flying still before it gets to Dubai. Well, at 3:45, our plane that we've been following is just approaching the Atlantic Ocean off of Nova Scotia. It's just flying south of Port Hawkesbury, Nova Scotia, and the town of Guysborough. Okay, 3:46, and that's the end of our hike here on the KMP Trail, following the flight of UAE 242 out of Toronto to Dubai, and now out over the Atlantic Ocean for another 10 hours of flight.